All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, hot off the heels of another just explosive week on the market. We're going to be taking a look at the Monday Market Report, which chronicles the post 1900 modern era of graded coins. This time, we're going to be looking at greatcollections.com to see some of the biggest coins to have sold here in the last week. And I'm telling you, it's for a midsummer classic, this one is shaping up to be a classic. This one is just one of the most explosive MMRs I've done over the summer in quite a while. What are we covering here? We have probably the best lineup of Lincoln cents that I've seen since, well, the Stuart Blake collection that sold on Heritage Auctions about a year and a half ago. Well, guess what? One more of those Stuart Blake Lincoln cents ended up selling this week. Plus, in addition to another big chaser for just anyone that's looking for these coins, whether you're going through change or bank rolls or BU rolls or whatever, the finest known of this coin has finally hit the scene, and the overall results of how much it sold for, wow. There's been a few people have already been talking about this coin, and I'm telling you, the opportunity exists for some of those chaser, I guess, ultra moderns. This one right here is barely 40 years old. A 40-year-old coin that sold for just a huge amount of money, almost $30,000, ladies and gentlemen. Which just goes to show you that the game has never been more tighter than it is today. So, yeah. Plus, we're going to look at just a bevy of other just really amazing U.S. type coins and registry set bombs. This show will not disappoint. And at least that's the idea here, is that we're going to fire from both ends on this one. All right, so like usual, we do have a show tomorrow on Whatnot, courtesy of Blue Ridge Silverhound. It's one of my favorite platforms to sell on. We have our Budget Buster show tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to bring your little change purse, because there's going to be a lot of really nice stuff that you can get for absolutely cheap. Some rarities, love highlighting some of those. We've been, the deals have been steals, and that is a fact, Jack. So we have our show tomorrow. We also have our show on Friday, which kind of showcases a much more deeper pull of things, and much more expensive coins. And again, we started a lot of things at $1, folks. We sold silver for like $9 on Friday. A full dollar's worth of 90% silver ended up going for $9 or something like that. I mean, it's all good. I've also been known to sell, peace dollars for around $10 as well. Maybe you guys have heard about that. But anyways, that's just a small sample size of what we do, all right, is to get collectible coins back into the hands of folks of all, I guess, demos of all different budget levels. That's how we do it here on Blue Ridge Silverhound. So come check things out starting tomorrow this week. If you haven't joined up already, use my referral link down below. Sign up under me. You get $15 off anything you purchase. It doesn't necessarily have to be from my show. It doesn't necessarily have to be coins, paper money, or bullion. It could be a comic book. Or it could be, a high-end watch, or anything that your heart desires. There is a bunch of different collectibles sold on this platform, and it is one of the fastest growing live auction platforms going today. I love it. Without getting too much further into the jibber jabber, let's go ahead and jump into some of these selections. Again, all coming from great collections, all graded. Just again, I'm telling you that this coin right here haunts a lot of people's dreams. It seems to be kind of one of those bullseyes that everybody targets, and they kind of leave everything else up to chance, right? And it's like, it's either I find this 82D small date Lincoln set that was struck on a bronze planchet, or the 83. There's even been an 89D that's, been made 7 years later. How the heck does that happen? So this 1983 Lincoln set was struck on one of the leftover bronze planchets. Now the coin weighs 3.1 grams, so you want to make sure that you weigh these things if you think you know it. All right. Sometimes a simple drop test may not be enough for you. Now, the difference between a copper plated zinc and one that's 3.1 bronze, there's going to be a pretty noticeable ring tone to it, I guess, when you do the drop test. But there are folks that just can't conclusively, make up their mind as whether or not it's the big time error. Now, in 1983, these are supposed to be copper plated zincs, all right, which weigh 2.5 grams. Pretty substantial weight difference, when you have one to the other. It's actually pretty easy to notice when you have one of each in each hand. But this has been the chaser since its discovery. I'd say about 2 decades ago. And it is like one of the hottest coins going right now. Most examples sell easily for 5 figures. Usually $10,000 seems to be that fine line drawn in the sand. However, this stunner ended up selling just out of the blue last night on Great Collections. PCGS Mid State 65 Red is the finest known example of this coin, and it's by a large margin. It's not even close. I think the next I guess grade is probably like a 62 or 63, red or red brown. So that's a pretty wide gap there between the next, I guess, grade level and what the top pop is, which is this one. But anyways, if you were looking to find one of these and you found one at this grade level, expect a price tag similar to what this one sold for, at $29,250, which handily kind of puts this one as one of the top coins being talked about over the summer of 2024. I have no doubt in my mind that there are others, not necessarily like it, but if you're able to find one, my friends, that's half the battle. And I tell you what, $10,000 payday can cure a lot of ails when it comes to financial stuff. So yeah, always never give up that good fight. Always be on the lookout for things like this, but also be mindful that there are other big chase coins as well that we find out there in circulation. Well done to the seller, well done to the buyer. This is just a simply awesome piece. Now the next one that we have here is, it's not quite the previous coin, but it's a 1980 Lincoln Memorial Cent that grades out really high in a Mid-State 67 Plus. It's a full red example. It is no doubt a registry set piece, and it should be treated as that. This is nothing that's wholly investable. The modern market, you ask certain people, are going to say, well, it's kind of in the doldrums right now. And I would intend to agree on anything like post 1975 and, most things like, W Mint quarters and, other various type coins during this particular 4.5, 5 year or 5 decade kind of swing. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to put together a perfect Proof 70 silver state quarter set today, you could really do that for about 50% of what it was selling for about 5-6 years ago. So the market, because of its saturation in certain areas, are going to be a little bit more affordable because there's just so many of them. The demand isn't quite there for a lot of what is out there. However, when we get to things like this, where there are only maybe a couple known, we have this big registry set kind of, thing happening right now. These are incredibly impactful. Like this one right here ended up selling for $3,012.75. And it just tells you when a coin like this sells for way more than 1 ounce of gold. I mean, and gold has been going up and up and up quite a bit over the last few months. So, that's just in a nutshell kind of like the story with registry sets. They are hot right now. Another one made for a registry set, and yes, there are proof coins in registry sets. There are different kind of levels and tiers of Lincoln Cent registries that also include varieties and proof coins and things of that nature. 62, one of the tougher dates to find with a deep cameo frosty contrast on there. This one is a near perfect 69 red. It's one of, I'll be honest, one of the cleanest looking 62s I have seen, bar none. This one right here is sold for $2,509.88. Again, the deep cameo effect on these earlier 60s coins, they're just not readily available. They are quite scarce. And then here's a great example. It's not a coin that's sold for a bunch of money, but this is in a nutshell kind of the pitfalls of dealing with registry set coinage. Not so much being a participant in it, but if you're the type of person that wants to headhunt, say, BU rolls and kind of cherry pick the best looking coins that you could send in a bulk submission to either NGC or PCGS, let's talk a little bit about the safety net. All right, this one right here is a 1958 Lincoln Wheat Cent that grades pretty nicely as 67 plus red, but how does it stack up to a comparable PCGS grade? As a matter of fact, the same grade. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. In NGC, this is not the finest grade. As a matter of fact, there's one that exists in a mid-state 68 red. There are 18 total graded by NGC in a 67 plus red. Now, if we looked at the other end of the spectrum, PCGS, their top grade of a 58 Philly is actually a 67 plus. There are no 68s. There are only 10 examples graded in a 67 plus with PCGS. So, things like this is what we call the safety net, because there is one that's a grade higher. So if you did get a 67 plus, it's not the end of the world. This one sold for $1,210.50, but keep in mind, the finest graded specimen might end up being worth 4 to 5 times that amount of money. So there's a pretty sizable gap between our safety net grade, and you don't want anything under a 67 plus. That's going to be kind of hard to move in the market. To give you an idea, with NGC in a just 67 red, there are 252 examples in that grade level. And I guarantee you, there's not a lot of desirability based off of that pop number. It's just way too large. So something to keep in mind if you're trying to decide if whether or not you want to do this. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of patience, and it is going to take a lot of inventory to go through to have a real shot at sourcing some of these top pop coins. So we're going to kind of go along regular speed here. Sorry, we had a little extra explanation on certain things to kick off the video today. 1940D Lincoln Wheat Cent. Beautiful coin. Top of the line here. 68 red through PCGS. Just a stunner. And the price shows $8,349.42 is what you would have to pay to own this one into your registry. 1934D, again, another great date here. 34Ds are generally well struck and they have above average luster. This one is a 67 plus red, another nice one as well, and purely registry set fodder. $4,674.38 was the hammer on this one. And the earlier we get, the more impressive. A 27 Philly Lincoln Wheat Cent doesn't seem all too impressive considering it's a Philadelphia, but it's one of the higher grade examples to ever exist. And if you look at that label, it says Blay. This is a previous Stuart Blay Provenance piece. This one was actually owned by one of the largest, if not the biggest, Lincoln Cent registry, bar none, on the planet. A lot of Stuart Blay's pieces ended up getting liquidated on heritage auctions, again, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, with just some stunning results. 67 plus full red CAC certed, which a lot of the Blay pieces are. This one sold for $10,968.75. And then finally, we had to throw in something that has a lot of bite to it, a 14D. We've talked about this coin. We've seen a lot of various grade levels. We even saw a 65 sell here recently. How about 65 plus full red? We're talking about just mere inches along. in improvement in grade here. This one even has a CAC green bean out of all things. So I was not at all shocked when this one ended up going for $37,125 at auction. It's just one of the ultimate premier pieces of a Lincoln scent that you will ever come across. And the finer the grade, the more that they're inclined to be, kind of like the holy grail of a lot of collections. I believe there was an example in '66 that sold for well in excess of $100,000. So again, when we're inching along an improvement of grade level, these prices get absolutely ridiculous. This is one of those cases. So we have nickels, and it's hard to top the Lincoln Sense this week. It's abnormally just different. 51S, under normal circumstances would be a rather impressive coin to find with full steps. It is quite tough. This one here is a 67 5 full stepper with NGC, and it's sold for $1,294.88. It's by no means the top grade. Luster is generally still pretty decent on a 51S. As we get deeper into the 50s, things just kind of fall off the map as far as overall quality. So this one, not too bad. Pretty nice example as a kind of secondary registry set inclusion. We did have some pretty nice buffaloes. How about 38D with, some of the nicest pastel level of color, lots of yellows. You have light magentas and reds in there. Overall, very pleasing coin for something that has been collected for decades. The 38D, of course, the final day of the Buffalo design, was hoarded. Everybody knew that this was the final swan song for this one. 68 is a great grade on this. CAC certification as well with the green bean. $4,897.12 was the sale on this one. Again, very impressive outing for a 38D. And by the way, guys, all right, the 37D three-leg buffalo is not the only variety king on the planet for the Buffalo series. Let's not forget that there is a much more expensive variety with lesser legs than the 37D, and that's the 36D. They call this one the 3.5 legger. So again, much like the 37D that we all know and love, this one, the same thing happened here. A little over polishing of that die, obliterated most of that front leg. You can still actually see a little bit, but it's very weak. This one here is a fine 15 through PCGS, and to put it into perspective, there was a 37D and AU55 that sold incredibly similar to this one. This coin sold for $1,861.88. The 37D and AU55 was within like $50 of this one. It's that close, but we're talking a pretty substantial gap in grade here, and that just shows you the rarity of the 36D 3.5 leg. It's the FS901 as well in the Cherry Picker's Guide. This one has been well known for years and incredibly tough to locate, especially if you're cherry picking it. We do have this one here as well. The coin was rotated in the slab holder, just kept it that way, 25S, no doubt, very tough grade, as most are from the 20s. Mid-State 64, the toning, it's either you love it or hate it. I'm very much down the middle with colors that are quite this thick, and sometimes they have that lifeless look to it if paired up with a coin that generally doesn't have good luster, and the 25S is that coin. Again, we're talking 20s manufacturing, the quality, it's junk. And along with the strike, I mean, look, you see where the mint mark is, under 5 cents. The die deterioration, and things like that really show and rears its ugly head on these coins. It's also got a CAC green bean, sold for $1,987.88. Again, this date, along with like a 26S in any mid-state grade, is wildly expensive. 1919 Philly, all right? Kind of like crossing over 180 degrees into a completely different spectrum of coin in terms of quality. A lot of the teens Buffaloes were very nice and very well struck. Mid-State 66, CAC green bean as well on this one. Another beauty. This one sold for $1,617.75. A great example. I've owned a few 64s and 65s of this particular date. It's just like one of the more common dates of teens. Buffalo's the 1919. Some would say the 17 is a close second there, but it's a coin that gets out of control beyond like mid state 65. 66s, you're automatically into four figure territory there. 1916 again. Same verse as the first. When we take into account some of the biggest varieties that have been known for decades, and these days, because a lot of these have been swooped up in the market, probably back in the 90s, early 2000s, there's not a whole lot out there. All right, so we have to kind of settle for what's available. A VF35 is no slouch. I mean, this thing is still a magnanimous example. I like the fact that it's shown its circulation, but all the while really highlights that just amazing doubling. I mean, you look at the date, you look at the little ribbons coming off the braid, you look at the throat, you look at the feathers. This all kind of illustrates a story of how crazy this coin would have looked like in a much higher grade. And the fact that this one had passed through many hundreds of hands over its lifetime is just mind-boggling, because in a 35 grade, it's sold for $13,563.63. Some would say it's a coin that's not cherry pickable by today's standards, with exception of coins that have no readable dates on it. And the way that you'll know is by looking at the feathers, because they'll show that incredible doubling, but also the ribbons coming off the braid, which is also another kind of like marker that you would use on dateless examples. And folks, dateless, non-readable coins, they're still worth over $1,000, and grading companies will grade them without the date on there because it's such a noticeable look to it. So, I've talked about this one to no reasonable end, and I'm still sticking with this. This is a great high dollar coin in all across all grade levels. Same with this one here too. Everybody's sweating a 42 over 1 Philly. How about the Denver? More people have cherry picked this coin in mid-state condition than anything else. There was a 66 full bander that was cherry picked and talked about on Collectors Universe forums, for crying out loud. That one I think ended up selling for like $50,000, $60,000. And the person paid $20 for it on eBay or some crazy story like that. So yeah, let's not forget there's a 42 over 1 over date on the Denver as well. Some would say that this one kind of rivals that Philly, because there's less of them out there. This one is an AU 58 full bands. Again, not too shabby. I would take an AU 58 CAC green bean any day of the week if I did find one, because it's still sold for $3,363.75. So there you go. One of my favorites this week. 1940 Philly Mercury dime. This one is it's a high minted, very common date bomb. This thing is this is about as perfect as Mercury dimes go. All right, there's been a few 69s that I've graded over the years. 68 plus full bander through NGC. Great one here. $3,209.76. Key date back to back here, 1921. It is 64 full bands. I love this date. It's just all the ones I've owned. The finest I've had to this date was like VG10 or whatever. There will be a day where I kind of go up into the big leads and actually, buy an XF40 or an AU55 or something like that. It's one of my favorite coins, favorite dates. $4,051.12 here. We also have a 16D. This is another biggie of the week. In a 62 full bands. All right, it's impressive that it's a 62 and has full bands. The full bands is what makes this one, in spite of the numerical grade. But just look at it. I mean, this is an awesome coin. I've never been blessed to own a really nice one of these because even in good condition, there's still $1,000 plus coin. $19,191.38 for this one here. And we do have a few quarters to end things off on the week. Some would say toners are in a little bit of a lull these days, and I couldn't disagree more. It really depends on the coin, and it has to hit that kind of right coin. 53S, this thing is all thick with all sorts of toning on it, and that's why it got the 68 star grade by NGC, CAC certified as well. And how about $7,593.75? Whereas if it was blast white, it'd be $1,000 coin, or 1,500 or whatever it is. It's just the color really amplifies the pricing. I wish more people would get it rather than be so quick to dip these things. you know. 39, mid-state 68 quarter right here as well. Love it or hate it, Tony, but keep it on there because, you're going to realize more money in a public auction than you would if you dipped it. All right. Because there's no guarantee you're going to get that 68 because the grading does bump a little bit based off of eye appeal. Whether it gets a star or a plus designation is really up to the grading company. CAC certified here, $2,418.75. And we're going to end things off on this beauty right here, a 1919. I would say one of the semi-keys of the Standing Liberty Quarter series. This thing is, oh my goodness. It's like, giving birth and it's all done. It's like you got the ultimate chase prize, sitting in a blanket in your arms, and it's this one. Oh my God, CAC certified. The CAC employee that put the sticker on there must have felt a whole whirlwind of emotion when he or she did that. $15,735.38. I mean, I see no other bigger coin to end things off on the Monday market report than that. All right, please do keep in mind information provided is for educational use only, not financial advice. Please do collect or grade your coins responsibly. Common sense goes a long way in the market and the hobby. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one on your Monday morning. Please don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't done so already. You guys have been fantastic. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue and the Ridge. So you guys take care. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday and enjoy this hobby, because I'm liking it more every day. I can't believe I'm saying that. I've been in a hobby for almost 30 years. Yeah, crazy.